True peace, everyone. In this video, you will hear very deceptive Dwight York cult leader who changes costumes, religions, titles, and has a whole cult confused. And everything he has to say, they believe it up to date. Let's get into it with Mr. Chuck Morgan. My name is Marshall Tabu Unawanet Nupu, and I'm just making it known. We're keeping our foot on the necks of these Nuwaupians who have been violating the nature books and carrying on with the foolishness that their master started.
CFR Network, CFR News, good day, good night all, Shalom Balance Paradise. We in at the lab. I got a signal with me, Chuck Morgan, and we're going to go to some places. We're going to explore some journeys, the human experience, and also delve into a very wide cult within the predominantly within the black community. I guess, did it filter over to like the Hispanic Latino community within Nuwaupianism, etc.? Chuck. So indeed, were there like other nations within the sort of the Nuwaupian movement, like Latinos, Hispanics, and all that kind of stuff, or was it predominantly sort of Afro-Americans?
Well, no, it varied. We had multiple groups that, I always thought it was more people that were there as props, because even when I first came in, there was a publication called Are Puerto Ricans Muslim? The pink book, thick pink book, had two sisters on the cover with a veil, and it was just geared more towards expanding their reach. In fact, certain of the old Ansar publications had been translated into Spanish. A couple were, the Christ series was translated into French. There were a number of groups of people that were involved. In fact, you even had a couple of Caucasians that were Nuwaupians as well. Even Ansars. Now, like I said, they were more as props, because I remember when I was about 1997, we were working on 1996. We were working on the Black Pyramid there. And there was a young Caucasian girl that did a number of errands for the organization, and she had a brother that was, I guess, a boyfriend. She was popular, as a matter of fact.
Based upon status,
it was just an open contradiction for the most part, especially when York would make claims that he said they say that Nuwaupians are not racist. Bullcrap. I am. The white man is the devil, always was it. Though that's his quote. So in saying that, or putting out a book, or not even a book, a T-shirt with a phrase, "No one wins the race in racism," yet he makes these types of declarations, and then if you go to the Holy Tablets, it speaks openly about the bigotry that he believed in. It was just a walking contradiction.
An interesting take, and it also seems to be kind of reminiscent to that 12 tribes chart kind of thing, which that obviously the one West Camp did to it, in my opinion, and from what it seems. And I'm sure one of the elders did an interview, and it was just there was elaborating on like the whole reason for this chart to include all these other nations of people, etc. And it seems to, number one, to get out of this, it's a black identity kind of cult, and number two, to swell the numbers and to get ultimately some coin, right?
Yeah. It wasn't to the extent of having a chart, but there were just a very tiny minority of other groups. There was one Filipino young lady who put together some of the books, and then there was a Korean young lady who did the. I don't know if anyone who in the audience I remember some of those blue Revelation books from the Ansars. She was responsible for that. Parts of the quote holy tab, not even holy tabs, the El's Torah. All they did was just take on the Strong's Concordances and start adding footnotes and commentaries and call that a translation.
I mean, he was prolific.
It was a Korean lady that did that.
And we're going back to when you say the Ansars, that movement was up in New York way, wasn't it? Or did that translate?
The Ansars, the organization, because it was more like a dual title. You had the Ansarullah community, Nubian Islamic Hebrews. So Ansar was established around 1969, 1970, where he says that he officially made the charter public. That was his version of Islam. That was the group that he, for the most part, used for years up until he kind of got exposed by a Muslim, Bilal Phillips.
Address that in the case of the Quran, right? One of the ways that Dr. York liked to create confusion amongst people, right? Dr. York was the founder of the Ansarullah community in New York and other parts of the States. That was popular for a period of time, and Muslims were deluded into thinking that they were actually Muslims, and they sat on the council, of masjids in New York and so and so. And I wrote a book on them called The Ansar Cult in America, exposing them to be not from Islam at all. But in fact, they were enemies of Islam. I exposed their beliefs, taking it right out of their books and comparing what Islam says, what they said, and that basically, alhamdulillah, blew them out of the water. After that, they fell apart. Not before admitting, Dr. York said that, they really weren't Muslims anyway, they were really Jews, and then he changed his name to Rabbi Reuben, and, he went into the Jewish thing, right? Anyway, the point is that, why was I telling you that? Oh yeah, one of the ways that he would like to create confusion amongst the Sunni Muslims to draw them into his net is he would take the translation of Yusuf Ali, he would take Fatiha, then he would take Pixel, then he would take about 5, 6, 7, 8 different translations, and he would show them one after the other. Look at this, these people don't know Arabic, and they're this, that, and the other. So then he started his own mistranslation of the Quran, right? So he created his own. So he locked his followers into following him by claiming that the others were mistranslating the Quran, and that's why there are all these differences among them. The reality is that, of course, when you're translating, as I said, translation of the Quran cannot be done. We cannot translate the Quran. All we can do is write in English some of the meanings of the Arabic. So in
his publication, The Ansar Cult in America. Subsequent to that, he abandoned Islam, relocated into the Catskill Mountains of New York, and from that point he began to attack Islam, and even put out an audio called Why We Used Islam, where he makes the point that he needed to create a cult that would keep the Muslims away, that would keep the Christians away, that would keep the Hebrew Israelites away, that he can hide up under, and every so few years he would change his name. So the cult that he used was Islam. That was his hustle after leaving prison. After he made parole in 1968, that was where he started to begin his his journey into being a professional hustler, and Islam was the religion that he chose.
Did he have, from your knowledge, did he have any sort of introduction to Islam, i.e. in prison, or did he attend any of these mosques to get a bit of the...
There's no real documentation on the process of how it went about. What he has stated publicly was that he was born in Islam. He was a Muslim from birth. But then he contradicts that by saying that he, at age 12, he lived in the State Street Mosque under Sheikh Dawood Ahmed Faisal of the State Street Mosque in Brooklyn. Okay. But then in another publication, he speaks about how he had to learn Islam by attending the University of Khartoum in Sudan, as well as the American University in Cairo, Egypt. None of those claims has ever been proven. It was just some of the things he stated in his propaganda rebuttal to Bilal Phillips's book. So what we do know is that individuals thought that, at least when he was in Sudan in 1973, he was viewed as a charlatan by one of the former prime ministers of Sudan, Sayyid Sadiq. One of his relatives made that point. And even York even put that, he even put it in his book, The Rebuttal to the Slanderers, where he said that this individual was lying. But even York, when he came back, he started changing the doctrine, because prior to that, like, he would wear a bone in his nose.
Okay.
And the prayer system was drastically different. So he came back and started innovating how the Muslims in his cult were to conduct themselves, and their whole view of Islam as it was at that time. So again, going back to 1989, when he released a publication called 360 Questions to Ask the Orthodox Sunni Muslim. That was during the time when he had started to abandon Islam and began to shift, if you will, to referring to ourselves no longer as Nubian Islamic Hebrews, but Nubian Hebrews.
A lot of people are falling away because we're going back. Oh, so you don't want us to go back and collect people that got lost? You just want to think about yourself? You want me to keep pumping new doctrine and forget about all those people who fell off the boat back there? Why are we Nubian Islamic Hebrews again? You never asked the Amorite man for 426 years why we worship Jesus. Why my name's Rodney and why call me Rodney? We are a new religion. The SIKHS, I guess Sikhs, are a new religion. They are taking over India and Pakistan. Everybody you see with them, turbans, are a new religion because you are in a new era. We are the new religion for black people in the sun cycle, and black people are going to read and are going to come. Baba Avatara Yanun, free Dr. York, hashtag Wu Sabat. They are delusional, they still believe, and this is what I've been trying to tell you, these cult members are sick in the head. Dwight has ruined a lot of their lives.
So at that time, this is around 1989, 1990, this is where we started taking off the white garb that he was in, was the garb of the Ansars or righteous, the ones prophesied in the book of Revelation. And then we started wearing what would be considered Orthodox Jewish attire. And that was based more in sight from the description of, as people say, we take Jesus in the book of Revelation, or at least the angel that brought the revelation to John in the book of Revelation by wearing a gold sash around the waist, still maintaining elements from Judaic practices with the fringes at the borders of the garment, tassels with the blue strip, having the kuppah. Wearing white still. Well, it wasn't even white. It was more like off-white. But that's what we were wearing. And at that time, when he came out, that we would be wearing the new garb. And this is what we call the new covenant that we were under. And at that time, he was speeding himself out of Islam. And all the publications at that time, as well as the audio True Light tapes were coming out, was all about Islam is the religion of Satan, etc., etc.
How was the movement sort of propagated? And that's a twofold question. Reference the peopleage joining, and then financially, how was he able to, do what he did there to then buy a whole heap of land down in Eastern Georgia and build all this stuff, and like how did that manifest?
Well, you see, the structure was okay. When you see, there were two sides. All right, you had the people who financed the organization by purchasing. These people who patronized the organization, we refer to them as our clientele, meaning that anything that came out, anything, books, tapes, audio, trinkets, you name it, anything that came out from the organization, these people would buy it, no matter what. They may not even read the book, they would just buy it because they supported us at the time. Now, those individuals that wanted to move it to the next level is where you move within the, quote, tabernacle of the Most High. And then you work from the inside out. And that structure was how you would come in. You would get some products, which usually would be a few books. Around the 1980, late 89, you had publications. You may have a few products that were more put out by the organization. But generally, we were taught to buy incense and oils from the different wholesalers, at least in Washington, D.C., New York, and places like that. So we would have enough trinkets to be able to go out and make money. And you had a daily quota. And in Washington, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, places like that, the daily quota was $100. And Sundays was the indoctrination day or newcomers class. And depending on your turn in, depending on how much money you turned in on that Saturday would determine whether or not you stay home on Sunday or you're in class or watching it from a monitor. So some people actually worked 7 days a week and had to put in the 100 or as much as possible. The key was you turn in all of your money. But a lot of the brothers didn't do it that way. So if you made 100, see, even on the board, even though the quota was $100, but some people were putting in 150, sometimes 200, and they still had hundreds of dollars left over because some of these guys were innovative. Some were former dealers, hustlers, so they knew how to make money anyway. What was popular in Washington, D.C. was the music genre go-go.
Yes.
So a lot of the brothers would take go-go music audio, and it was extremely lucrative and popular in D.C. because you had, at that time, of course, with the whole drug epidemic that was taking place in D.C., where you had a lot of the young hustlers, young gunners that were running around in expensive cars, Porsches, BMWs, Mercedes, and they had the best stereo systems, so they wanted to have go-go. So there was one brother who was downtown in Washington, D.C. named Wadapa, who, dressed in the white garb, and he catered to hustlers, and all he sold was go-go. And he would make about $500, $600 a day. Just because the audios were $20 a pop. $20 a piece.
Well, like 60 minute tape?
Huh?
Or 60 or 90 minute tape?
Yeah. I mean, whatever long time you need. So in a nutshell, it was based on that quota system, and that money went to the headquarters. At this time, it was either Brooklyn or in upstate New York. And that money was tax-free because these communities were not under York's banner as one of his businesses. We were classified as satellite communities where we're just helpers. So it was a tax-free thing.
Yes.
He made millions off of it. Millions.
It's ingenious. And for some people, I guess, trying to look at the positive side, some of the information or structure enabled them to move forward rather than regressing in life. I guess some people did the former. I guess you've got to try and take the positives from everything. That's crazy. So in essence, what you're saying is like the guys who were catering to the hustlers, they were putting out the audio of York over go-go beats.
Oh yeah. Now you did have some people who wanted to just propagate, meaning they wanted to go out and be in a state of quote tabligh, where you would go out and you're trying to proselytize. All right. Those people may have had a walk route where you go out in your garb and you just walk the streets of the city all day, trying to share the information with people, something like what you would see a Jehovah's Witness do. Only you're mobile, you're physically walking. You may have an individual with you or sometimes by yourself, but those people generally always came up short. And one of the penalties for turning in low money was that you stand guard all day. The following day, you would begin your guard at 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. And if you dare to fall asleep, doze off, if you're on your post, then you're, quote, taxed, which will push you up until midnight.
And what were you guarding?
Say again?
What was being guarded?
Yeah, we had, in the different communities, you had individuals that had to do security, which was 24 hours a day. That was based on the format that was in New York because of, at that time you had the Sunni Muslims who were, having issues. There was this back and forth thing going on with them and the Ansar. So at one point, York was fearing assassination or having them come into one of the communities. So we really had to put a heavy emphasis on the security. And he even developed a little a minor military, at least in New York, called the Mujahid. I think the technical term is Mujahideen, but it was called Mujahid, which were just some of the more violent individuals in the organization that they pretty much focus more on the inside, is where it was. They would beat up individuals in New York and other places if they didn't turn in a certain amount of money. So they began to feed on themselves. But everything that went on was always at York's full knowledge of.
Okay. All right. So let's rewind a little some. How did you stumble across York's teachings initially?
All right. In a nutshell, because this was around the late 80s, so, the hip hop thing and the, Public Enemy, Africa Bambaataa, all that kind of stuff was popular. And so I just happened to one day, because I was into the hip hop thing, and I liked Eric B. and Rakim. I liked the little kufi that Rakim used to wear in the Paid in Full video.
Okay.
And I kind of made one because I was kind of good when it came to sewing and all that kind of stuff. So I made a version of his, and I walked down. I was downtown with some friends, and this 5%er walked up to me and asked me if I was God. And, I was a Christian at the time, so I didn't really know what he was talking about. So I was kind of shocked, to be honest with you. And he laid in on me about, what it symbolized, and I shouldn't be wearing it, and I should need to have knowledge of self, blah, 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 blah. So that Saturday, I went, because I lived in Northwest Washington at the time, and I saw in front of a CVS store, back then it was called People's Drugstore, and he had a bunch of books on the table, and there was something that caught my attention on the table, and then I had a conversation with him, and I asked him about, that kind of thing, and he was telling me, oh yeah, we know a lot of rappers, they're down with us, and so he gave me some information, and then he gave me an audio and a book. I forget what the name of the book was. I don't know, The True Star of Islam or something like that. And I read it. I wasn't too keen on the idea of listening to the cassette tape because I didn't like the way York looked on the cover. He had that, that Arab look, with the white on, and that real pious kind of appearance with the lamb staff. It had that kind of cult look thing. I wasn't feeling that. I didn't really want to hear it, and it took me a while before I even listened to it. And when I did hear it, I said, "Wow, dude didn't sound anything like the way he looked." So I was kind of like, okay, so talked about wanting some more information, and then more information, and that culminated into my direct participation in being active within the organization at the time. So, a lot of people who start off like that, they generally help individuals, like they will patronize them. And then when it's time for them to leave, they may jump on a bus with them, help them out. Just, really trying to play an active role, even though you're not within the organization. And so depending on how you come off to them, they're like, you may want to try to move it to the next level, try to be with, come within and help us from inside, because we need soldiers, And that appeals to me,
Well, what was the hook for you?
That was how my journey started. Huh?
What was the actual hook for you? Reference, like you grew up in I guess, was it Baptist, Methodist? What kind of denomination, Christian wise?
I was just a regular old Christian. I mean, I wasn't a practicing Christian, but I just had that foundation. Mother going to church, that kind of thing.
Right.
When I attended my first class in Washington, my question was whether or not Jesus was black or white. That was all I came to hear. When it's ironic, when that class was going on, there was an ugly debate going on between Sunni Muslim and the brother in charge. So after that dissipated, I was able to ask my question, and then he elaborated on biblical references and this other things, and trying to apply different levels of logic or reason as it pertained to that topic. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. And I had a good rapport with all the brothers who were there, and so I was like, hey, might just move in and become a part of this thing. But at the time, I was working at the Pyramid Bookstore, House of Knowledge, Islamic Visions Video, and the guy who was running that shop, he didn't like the idea that I was associating with them. Why? Because he was a Sunni Muslim, and he got fired from that job. And at that time, I was like, oh, that might be my sign to become a full-fledged member of the organization. And that's when I consulted with the person who was in charge, and I wanted to come in. He's like, you have to fill out an application, a lot of personal information. You have to fill out this application, and then you have to take a physical. And so the brother, Emir Idris, he allowed me to move in without even taking the physical, and I just did it from when I was inside. And everybody knew me, so it was all good. So I 1989, I moved right on in, and I had been in it all the way up until 2011. Because I had no longer become active around 2006, especially after the arrest, because when I had a store in Baltimore, a lot of people stopped patronizing us. In fact, they would condemn us. You still following this guy, and you putting out, pedophile information, from this guy. And so we lost our building in Baltimore that I had eventually moved. Me and my girl, we moved back to Washington with another young brother who had taken over from the previous two individuals that ran that store. So that was how I got and became a part of the organization.
Okay. So, yeah, of course. So you've made that very concise and brief. But so you're experiencing issues post. This is post the sentencing, 135 years, or is this the arrest period we're talking?
Okay, so around 2002. That we were in Baltimore, and that was when things started to change. So people, I think CNN had ran a segment on it, and it was all over the news. That's where people became shocked, and as it started to settle in, people began to pull away from us, in a different city. So a lot of the clientele you had, they just wasn't buying. Said, "Nah, bro, I'm not trying," And at that time, I really didn't even know much about the case at all, other than what they were telling us, So because I had my connection with York was, it was more on an intellectual level, meaning I had done talk radio for a while, and I was out, spending day and night debating, arguing with different peoples of different faiths, sometimes key individuals in religious groups. And he loved that. He even developed a series where he talked about, I don't know, maybe, because whenever we would do those recordings on radio, we would send them down. Because by that time, they were living in Georgia, and we would send them down, and then he made a series out of them. Dr. Larry Morgan or Dr. Chuck Morgan debates the Christians or whatever. And they did about 11 of those, and maybe he was selling them. And some of the people I remember who were in the office would tell me that he enjoyed them because with all the stuff that was going on with the sheriff and the zoning issue they were having back and forth, it was, good for him. And, he got a big kick out of it. It was something to laugh at. Well, me and this other guy would just go at it all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. And staying on the talk radio stuff, I recall there was, and you can tell me in more detail who this person was, but there was, do you remember Blog Talk?
I remember Blog Talk Radio, but I don't know much about it because when we had our show, it was on a local Washington D.C. Station that eventually jumped onto XM satellite radio. And my mentor, who taught me everything in the studio, was Joe Madison, Black Eagle, ironically. And yeah, that was how I was able to, know how that industry worked from that side. But we had to pay for our show, which was $150 an hour. And we had the worst hour, which was at Sunday night at 10 p.m. It's only for 2 hours. Yeah. And that culminated into the whole triad of Atum Ray, because he had developed one already in Eatonton, and then he wanted to establish one in the north, and it was myself and 2 other individuals. But that fizzled out, and at that point he just told me to open up a store, and gave me thousands of dollars worth of products on consignment, and that was how I moved into that area. As far as what pertained to the case and all that, while I was even here, I didn't even study up on that until I had began to question the doctrine from a different angle. And then some of my former associates began to, label me as disgruntled, or that I'm asking, fed-like questions, asking for proof of this, proof of that. Why are you asking all that? You're supposed to know all that stuff. It's just that I had put away a lot of that information. I stopped reading it. And then I just happened to be one day just reading the Holy Tablets and some of the other books, and I just had some questions. And one of my first questions I remember asking was, where do we find that Zoser and Imhotep had created the pig for Abraham and to clear out the land of Canaan? And nobody could give me any documentation, no primary sources on it. And that's what led on up to it. And I started putting questions together on Facebook.
Nuwaupian Facts, that was the name.
Yeah, what about it?
That was the guy on Blog Talk. Okay,
yeah. And then they put that website up.
Yeah. You mentioned Atum Ray. As of recent, isn't there some is there some kind of confusion? Because isn't there somebody else claiming that they're the real Atum Ray and all this? Mark, is it someone called Mark or something?
I don't know. What do you mean?
There was, I recall, we're going back to maybe 12, 13 or so. I recall there was, again, we're going back to Blog Talk days, and a little bit of it leaked onto YouTube, I guess. There was 2 individuals claiming to be Atum Ray.
I don't know anything about that.
It was so confusing. Chuck, it was confusing as hell. The Atum Ray you're talking about, what's the connection to York and himself?
Between who?
Atum Ray.
I don't know. As long as I has ever been a part of the organization, there was this one individual who classified himself as Nete Aferti Atum Ray. And that was York. Of course, you had many people who, when York was incarcerated, they started branching off and becoming Melchizedek and the
So we heard the master manipulator. He relocates, he attacks, he hides, he changes his name. He's a profound hustler / criminal. There are many branches of this cult continuing in their own ignorance. I'm saying own ignorance because Dwight has been locked up and they can't flee and go on their own to find correct information. They're still standing on this weirdo's shoulders. These cult members are everywhere, lying and misleading black people.